Hello Dover Year 6, it's Miss Banks here. Welcome back to our online learning. Today in grammar we will be learning about commas, colons and semicolons. Commas, colons and semicolons are all types of punctuation, and punctuation aids the reader in understanding the writer's intended message. Sometimes the use of punctuation makes it easier to read and comprehend the writer's ideas, but some marks can completely change the intended meaning. Depending on where they are placed, or if they're used at all, commas and other types of punctuation affect a sentence's message. Let's have a look at commas. A comma is a punctuation mark and it has many uses. The main uses are discussed here. Firstly, commas can be used to separate items in a list. For example, Tom's favourite fruits are grapes, plums, apples and bananas. Commas can also be used as an alternative to brackets to show parenthesis or additional information within a sentence as an embedded clause. For example, a hot dog, a type of sausage, is often served in a long bread bun. If the embedded clause was removed, the part in between the commas, so the a type of sausage, the sentence would still make sense because it would read, a hot dog is often served in a long bread bun. Thirdly, commas can be used to separate a main and subordinate clause, or to separate adverbial phrases from a main clause. Now we've done lots of work on those terms in class, so hopefully you all remember what they mean, but an example would be, Phoebe stopped running as she realised she would not catch the bus. So here, the main clause is Phoebe stopped running, and the subordinate clause is as she realised she would not catch the bus. Commas are also used when punctuating direct speech before quotation marks when the quotation is introduced. For example, as Mum left, she called out, I'm off to the shops. So before Mum speaks, the comma is used. A main use of commas is to avoid ambiguity, which means confusion in writing. For example, let's eat grandma, or when said with the comma, it would be, let's eat grandma. The first sentence suggests that we should eat grandma. The second makes it clear that the writer is telling their grandmother that it's time to eat. So you can see here that just by adding in a comma, the complete meaning is changed. Here is another example from a book titled Eats, Shoots and Leaves, showing just how important commas are to avoid ambiguity. So it says, a panda walks into a cafe. He orders a sandwich, eats it, then draws a gun and fires 2 shots in the air. Why? Asks the confused waiter as the panda moves towards the exit. The panda produces a badly punctuated wildlife manual and tosses it over his shoulder. I'm a panda, he says at the door. Look it up. The waiter turns to the relevant entry in the manual and, sure enough, finds an explanation. Panda, large black and white bear-like mammal, native to China. Eats, shoots and leaves. So because the manual is badly punctuated and you've got the comma in there, the panda thinks he's meant to eat things, shoot things and then leave as in exiting. Obviously what it's meant to say is that pandas eat shoots and they also eat leaves. Let's move on to colons. A colon is a punctuation mark that can be used to introduce a list or to separate 2 independent but linked clauses. It looks like 2 dots, one on top of the other. When colons are used to introduce an item or series of items, the first word written after the colon does not need to be capitalised. For example, your child will need many items for their residential trip. Then we have the colon and then the list. A sun hat, trainers, pyjamas and a towel. A colon can also be used to separate clauses within a sentence. The clause after the colon is used to either conclude the clause before it or explain the clause before it and enhance its meaning. So here we have, a whale is not a fish, colon, it is a warm-blooded mammal. So after the colon, it's explaining about the part before the colon. In some cases, colons are also used to introduce a quotation or direct speech. For example, he offered the following advice: don't run too fast at the beginning of the long-distance race. So before the person speaks, we have the colon to introduce it here. Finally, let's have a look at semicolons. A semicolon is a punctuation mark that is used to separate two independent, that's main clauses that are closely related. It looks like a dot and a comma, one on top of the other. Semicolons are mainly used within a sentence to separate clauses. The clauses must be on the same theme and not joined together with a conjunction. The semicolon takes the place of the conjunction within the sentence. So the example, it was cold and the sun was shining. Or with the semicolon we can have, it was cold, semicolon, the sun was shining. So here the semicolon has replaced the word and. As with commas and full stops, semicolons make the reader pause when they come across them. A reader should pause for a short time with a comma, for longer and more deliberately with a semicolon, and longest for a full stop. Semicolons can also be used to separate items within a list, to help clarify internal groups if the list already contains internal commas. For example, my dream band would include Bruce Springsteen on vocals, Jimmy Page on lead guitar, acoustic guitar and backup vocals, and Dave Grohl on the drums. So because here we've got commas separating the instruments that Jimmy Page is going to be playing, we have semicolons to separate the different band members. I hope that PowerPoint helps you have a clearer understanding of commas, semicolons and colons, and that it helps with your lesson today. Any questions, let me know. Good luck, enjoy, stay tuned for the new video soon. Bye!